Louis Riddick, who, again, is part of the Shacamp, the Shahive, as it were, as you might remember from the NFL draft coverage.
I only remember Mel Kiper going crazy.
You don't remember Louis Riddick?
No, I have siloed out a bunch of that draft, and the big resounding
just too
memory.
Traumatic for you?
No, because Mel Kiper stole the show. Like in such a large way that I've defaulted to when I think about the draft. Like 20 years from now, when I talk about the draft that happened in Green Bay, I'll be like, that was when Mel Kiper just lost his mind for 5 rounds.
So this is perfect. What this is awesome. Like is when TJ Watt got his contract and I just went scorched earth on him, and Volnick was in that day, and he's just like I stopped to breathe 5 minutes in, and he's just like, I'd love to add to anything you're saying, but I agree with everything you're saying. and then it, like, people on social media were like, these two fat guys got it wrong. The only person that took any bit of the brunt of the blow from Pittsburgh media, in this case, I'm Mel Kiper Jr.
Yes, because the voice of Kiper was louder than anybody else, and it hit harder. Riddick could have said anything. Now, we know he's always been in the pocket of the Sanders camp, and that's okay. So, like, it's consistent, but he didn't go hard enough relative to Mel Kiper Jr.
So, specific to the quarterback du jour in Cleveland, Louis Riddick was talking about Shedor's place in the Browns quarterback kerfuffle, Jimmy Haslam's comments yesterday about the quarterback situation when he was on First Take today.
What it tells me is that this young man is ice skating uphill. That's what it tells me, because they are not in lockstep as far as how they view him within that organization. Why else would you come out and say, as I was driving home on Friday night, if you would have told me we were going to draft Shedeur Sanders on Saturday, I would have said, that ain't happening. What that means is there's enough people at the top of the totem pole who are like, nah, he's not for us. Simple as that. So if you're Shedeur Sanders and you're sitting wherever you're sitting in the dorm rooms in Berea and you're watching First, or you're watching the news and you're seeing the owner sit there and go, no, well, as of Friday night, they weren't even thinking about me. And then they had a meeting and the right people were in there and they wound up drafting me. I'm sitting here going, man, am I really at the right place here? Do I have people that are all rooting for me that want to make this competition here really fair and equitable?
All right, this matters more because he is a part of the Shahive. Like, he is close with Dillon Sanders. Mm-hmm. He was one of the preeminent voices throwing a temper tantrum on national television. I say it with love because I think Louis is incredible and should be an NFL GM now. The retort there is you probably were lucky to get drafted in the 5th round given the way your shafal, the shaplunge as it's known, actually went down.
So, I mean, there's also a lot of this that I just don't believe. Because remember, I was told there's a reason why on draft day I kept talking about Schlesinger and Judkins. It's because I was told they really liked Schlesinger and Judkins.
The German linebacker?
Yeah, and then there go. They took both of them. But I was also told in that same stretch that they really loved the idea of Shedeur Sanders late in the 2nd round. So, like, in this scenario, do you feel like Jimmy Haslam, because they didn't take Shedeur once the 2nd round happened late in the 2nd round, did he think that they were just going to close up shop and that's what it was? As if that then became off the table?
No, I mean, I think what happened is I just think it says I think once he got through the 2nd day, I think everybody kind of looked around and went, oh, that's unusual. And then you probably said, all right, they probably had a conversation of, all right, is there a range we'd take him the next day right before the draft? And it happened. Like, I still think it's highly probable it was Andrew Berry. I really do. I think we've turned Jimmy Haslam into this.
Jimmy's tried to make it known that it was not him in many ways, and it's just whether or not people believe him at this point.
And by the way, Jimmy's the guy that openly said, hey, it was my fault on the Deshaun Watson stuff, even though there's been vast reporting in town that he had to be talked into moving off Baker Mayfield. And his only real crime is once Deshaun said, you guys are out, he said, well, what can we do to get all the way in on this guy? Mm-hmm. Like, his whole thing was, again, the money bags. Hey, you guys believe in this plan. You've brought me into it. How do we do it?
Yeah, what was really hard, though, in the moment, and I've come around to the idea that I do think it was Andrew Berry that made that call and made that decision. What was really hard, though, Nick, was that you juxtaposed it with that screenshot that went very viral of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski looking like they could be having the worst time of their lives as they're taking Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, I always put that more on. One,
was it just bad? Was it just bad timing by the TV camera?
I think it was, because they didn't really react at all. And these teams react like they won the Super Bowl after every pick. Like, when they take a punter in the 7th round, there's hugging and handshaking.
That's what made it weird, is they looked like they were like hostages almost.
But no, I still believe it was Andrew Berry. But getting back to this idea, like, yes, here's the thing. Shador is, and there's no dancing around this or skating around this. He is skating uphill. That's 100% true. Yeah, he is ice skating uphill at this job. And here's the difference. I think I've just accepted that they're holding Shador back for one reason or another. I said earlier, I don't know if they're going to try and hide him. So maybe see if they can get to a point where they think, well, he fell to the 5th round.
Which I think is a bad plan, by the way.
If we didn't give him any opportunity to really showcase himself.
I think if they try to stash him in the practice squad, they're going to regret it because he's not going to be able to get through to the practice squad.
So I don't think he would get through to a practice squad either. But I also didn't think he'd fall to the 5th round. So unless Shedeur does something at some point to change the narrative on him around the NFL before week 1, well, then if you don't see him a lot in the preseason and you're not giving him first team reps and there's no buzz around him, that would be the reason that would be one path to try and sneak him through, that you only have to carry 2 active quarterbacks. Yeah,
but he's starting to chip away at it. I really do believe that. I feel like the growth he has made in just 7 practices and really the perception with the Browns around him. If I'm Shedeur, I got to be proud of what I've been able to do, because he went from zero even dream of being able to go up against the first team defense to today actually being able to go up against the first team defense.
But if you're the Indianapolis GM, or if you're the Jets GM or the Giants GM, and you were one of the teams that passed on him 5, 6, 7 times over, and all you hear is, Shedeur barely got first team reps. That's not going to sound like progress.
No, but I think there's some context that has to happen attached to that, right? Like, you'd see that every reporter is flashing all sorts of awesome throws from Shedeur on a consistent basis. And it seems like every single day we're getting one of these reports where it's like, yeah, Shedeur looked really good. Shedeur's having himself a day.
I don't think teams pay as much attention to the flashy stuff on social media.
But the theme will eventually override it. Like, eventually throughout the days.
I think you're saying that as like a Shedeur fanboy.
But the conversation around Shedeur is different than if it was just an actual 5th round pick. Everything Shedeur does gets absolutely magnetized to a point that you can't escape it. Dov Kleiman, who's got one of the most popular Twitter accounts out there, every single day, including today, by the way, has posted a Shedeur positive throw. Like, they pay attention to these things.
Yeah, well, because it helps content. But like, listen, we can get to like some of the other tributaries here. I think the Browns plan to try and hide him, even if I don't know it'd be successful. I can understand if they're trying to tamp down those expectations in one way or another, and I think they could. I think it's actually a decent chance to get away with it, because Shedeur has to change listen, the whole point on him falling to the 5th round, for him to change the narrative on how he's seen around the NFL, he has to change the Browns' narrative on it, and he really hasn't to this point. I mean, today was the first time he got first-team reps. It sure doesn't seem like he's getting a lot of first-team reps. I think
it's a far cry.
I think the Browns are winning in terms of the PR battle of, if we're trying to hide him or whatever, trying to do that.
I don't know. It's a far cry. Getting the first team reps that he got today is way different than when we first started this conversation, 7 days ago.
Yeah, how's it going to look, though, if Kenny Pickett comes back and then all of a sudden Shedeur is throwing to ball boys again?
So I expect in the upcoming days and really the upcoming couple weeks, I would expect you get more and more with Shedeur. And then this is where he's got to go ahead and showcase himself. This is where he has to actually prove what his skill set is. But he's passed every test so far. Like, I don't know much. I don't know what else Shedeur could do at this point to showcase that he is really performing pretty high.
See, I don't think it's that. I think it's, what more are they going to do to give him opportunities to showcase?
Yeah, but again, if he's playing against a stacked deck and he's going to always draw dead and they're not even giving him a fair shake, and maybe that's what we'll find out. I remember 4 or 5 days ago, right before I went off to Boston on Friday, it was like that Thursday night. That was like the aha moment I had, where I was like, they really don't seem like they want to give him an opportunity here. But since that point, they've started, and it's because of a Pickett injury, sure, but they've started giving him more and more. Just keep passing those tests.
But here's the thing. We're still in the you've got to pass these test phase. So there is we talked about this a little bit earlier, but there are levels to this. Meaning there's you have to prove you're ready to take live bullets in practice phase. And once you pass that, you get the opportunity to go out there and struggle and be put in positions that are going to test you and hopefully make you better. That's where Dillon Gabriel is. Dillon really didn't have to pass much of a test. They bought into him, and they've allowed him, especially with the Pickett injury, they've allowed him to take more reps and get more opportunities where they're not trying to handhold, as it were. They are still very much in the way they're dealing with Shedeur and handholding. I don't know how long it's going to last, by the way, in fairness to what you're saying. But it's apparent that's still where they are.
Yeah, no disagreements from me. That's what they're doing as of right now.
But like
I'm expecting that tide to turn.
I think you and I are actually closer than we realize, because I agree that he is passing the test that he's given. But his test is not the same test as what they're trying to do with Dillon Gabriel, where they're very evidently trying to get him ready to play early in the season, if not week 1. And Shedeur, it still feels like we're in the hair tussling. That was a nice one slugger part of your development.
I know it would just be such an odd move if my steadfast belief in life is the cream rises to the top, and it would just be the NFL in a world where Stefanski wants to make Shedeur Sanders look good. I know he does. He'd get so much affirmation across the NFL if he made Shedeur Sanders into a good NFL quarterback. Like, it's all right there for him. But you're right, they haven't at this point consistently given him the opportunities the same way that they have with Dillon Gabriel.
I do think Shedeur would have the right to be frustrated about the situation here and the way he might feel it's going. I think Jimmy Haslam's comments are nowhere near the conversation. Like, he fell to the 5th round. Like, yes, yeah, there were a lot of people that didn't think they were going to draft you going into that next day.
Yeah, I mean, so I get it too. Like, if Shedeur was going to be mad, he should be mad at the idea that they did think about him. I know they thought about him on Friday night. He decided not to go with him. And then on top of it, then they decided that Dillon Gabriel was a better quarterback, hence by the 3rd round selection. So, like, you want to get mad, but I'm sure he's already processed that reality.
All right. So that is why I think Shedeur would actually have a legitimate gripe with the Browns of, if you had no actual thought, desire, whatever, to have me see the field or truly prove my point that I belong on the field, then why did you draft me? Knowing in a year's time you're going to be drafting a quarterback as well. That, I think, is a fair gripe. Like, if you're going to put a guy on a 1-year time limit.
You can't believe that that's what they're doing right now.
Oh, but you don't think guys are realistic about that?
I mean, we've talked about it, but I would also, if I'm Shedeur, I would look at it like, this is where you have to force their hand. Same way he forced their hand today into giving them first team reps. They didn't have to do that.
Do you think he feels like he has a real chance, though?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because every part of Shedeur Sanders' life, like, did you hear the Deion interview yesterday with Michael Irvin, where he had the quote that stuck with me that was awesome was he's like, I'm God's guy, as if every mark of Deion's life, God has shown him why God has just believed in him, essentially. And I got no rebuke to that, because everything in Deion's life has gone great. Everything in Shedeur's life so far has gone to script too. Now you're going to start doubting yourself?
No, it's not about doubting yourself. It's about doubting the situation. Like,
no, you can understand it's a crappy situation, but I think I don't think Shedeur thinks that way. I think maybe we on the outside think about this for Shedeur that way, but I just think he looks at it like, if I do my part, it'll take care of itself.
Yeah, I think athletes are way more pragmatic than we give them hope. Just because they might say that publicly, and like Deion also saying the other day, I'm not where I need to be. I don't want you to see 3 or 4 reps or whatever. When I'm ready, you'll be able to come out. Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things you say in public.
I don't think he would be putting in the work that he currently is right now unless he didn't think an opportunity was coming. Like, he's there way before practice starts. Most days he's there way after practice ends. He's getting ball boys to catch passes for him. Like, the approach he's taking is not of somebody that thinks, I'm here in a training camp. It's going to go whatever way it goes. The deck is stacked against me, and then I'll just see my way out.
Well, yeah, but to me, that what you just espoused there, guys either have that work ethic or they don't. There have been plenty of guys who've been gifted situations that don't work hard because they've never been hard workers. Anthony Richardson. Like, I think this is just who Shedeur is. I think Shedeur has always been a workhorse, and that's why he's continuing to do the work he's doing.
I think who Shedeur is somebody that at every turn has been given challenges and has overrode those challenges.
What challenges? He never. What challenge did he face in college?
Well, first off, he was a 3-star prospect. It's not like he was like this heralded 5-star quarterback.
Yeah,
and then he went to Jackson State.
Battle at Jackson State.
No, and he first off, not only overcame that, he had that program in a national spotlight on a consistent basis, and then he went to Colorado and overcame the challenges there. Like his whole life has been designed about overcoming challenges. I just have a hard time.
He was gifted both jobs.
You say gifted.
There was no fear of losing the job.
I just don't look at it that way. Like, if he absolutely,
I think most people look at that.
If he stunk up the joint, he wouldn't have been consistently given an opportunity to start. Like he won a lot of games. They never brought in competition for him.
He
won. You have the portal. You have opportunities if you're Deion to bring in any quarterback you want and say, Shedeur, you're not doing the job. You're not cutting it. You have all the opportunity in the world to do that. And all he did in every program and every opportunity he was done was not only turn the program around, but find actual winning outcomes.
I think Shedeur has made the most of his opportunities. And in college, he did that. I also think Shedeur has to understand, having been around football as long as he's been around, that one real complicating factor here is not just that they like Dillon Gabriel more than they like Shedeur, but if Shedeur starts over Dillon Gabriel, that's a different problem for whomever made these two decisions. And I tend to think that Stefanski did the Dillon decision because I think Stefanski really believes in Dillon Gabriel. And I think Andrew Berry made the Shedeur Sanders one.
Well, and that's where I hope that they just they don't have to stick to their guns to be like, hey, we took Dillon in the 3rd round, so we must play Dillon over Shedeur because it'll be perceived poorly on us if we took a quarterback ahead of the quarterback that actually was successful. If I was Stefanski and Berry, I'd have to look at it as which quarterback actually has the most talent. You got to play that guy at the end of the day.
That's not how the NFL works, though.
Your jobs are on the line every single time you put a quarterback out there.
But you and I have followed this sport long enough to know it is not a pure meritocracy. Where you were drafted, as much as Kevin Stefanski says that doesn't matter anymore, it does matter. Who is behind you being drafted massively matters. Just the overall perception of the organizational health with who drafted whom. All of these things matter.
Of course they matter.
They shouldn't, by the way.
But here's what I'm imploring the Browns. I'm imploring the Browns to not think that way. You're right. That is how the NFL typically operates. If you get drafted ahead of somebody, then you get the first crack at it. I'm telling the Browns, it's bad business if you go that route. If Dillon Gabriel's not better than Shedeur, then he shouldn't be out there playing.
This is the same organization that played Deshaun Watson when he was unplayable.
Well, listen, it was
going to be until he snapped his Achilles or, I don't know, the season ended.
It has been made abundantly clear, Nick, this organization does not think the way that I think in many, many football decisions, okay? Abundantly clear. And this would be another one of those decisions. Starting Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur, if Dillon Gabriel's not the best quarterback, if Shedeur is shown to be the better quarterback and you go with Dillon Gabriel because you want to protect the idea that you took him in the 3rd round and had belief in a 5'9" quarterback, it's a bad decision.
Well, but if you can listen, let's look at how they're running the quarterback derby now. Dillon is held to a different standard because he's passed every test. So if you're the Browns, you can go, well, we've done a lot to build Shedeur up, but he hasn't gotten to the point where we can just put him out there and just let him sink or swim regardless, and Dillon has. So the perception now is Dillon hasn't looked that good. Shedeur's looked good in limited opportunities. I've already told you. Like, how it looks doesn't necessarily matter to the opportunity they're going to give. So they can always use the excuse of, well, you guys saw us in fortuitous opportunities for Shedeur. We kind of pulled the training wheels off Dillon, so Dillon's farther ahead and more NFL ready.
Yeah, I mean,
that is what, like, they're kind of doing what I think they're going to do this season right now, right in front of you.
Yeah, and I think if they continue to go down that path, again, maybe it turns. Maybe Dillon Gabriel shows something every single day and ends up looking just awesome, and it just is what it is, right? Like, that would be the best outcome for them by far. But as of right now, if a month from now we're having the same conversations where Dillon day in, day out is inconsistent and he throws interceptions and he's having batted passes down from Shelby Harris on a consistent basis. And,
just Shelby, not if it's somebody better.
Well, I mean, it's the guy that did it today. You know what I mean? That's not a shot at Shelby Harris.
Mason Graham getting the pass knocked down is
perceived a little bit differently, is it not? But like, if he's still doing that, if he's still having these outcomes, and you're looking over at Shedeur, who's having consistent day in, day out, reps and being able to actually contribute and look good, then they've lost the plot. They've lost the plot if they want to force this.
Yeah, I mean, so listen, you and I agree on this to some extent. I'm pushing back because it's apparent the game they're running is different than the game I think you or I would run. But the truth is, I don't know how much Shedeur has to do to get where they want, because the messaging is still very much, we're trying to build him up. And by the way, is that a little bit insulting of a dude that played 40 games? Yep. But they've done this since the beginning with Shedeur. In a way, they've never been more consistent with a player than with Shedeur, where the second they drafted him, oh, he's not NFL ready. And they continue to tell that with every decision they make, including that he has to fight, scrap, and claw, and he can't really make a mistake.
They're giving him little crumbs here, though. That's the difference here.
Yeah, but they're giving
He's getting
Dillon
little crumbs.
Gabriel a 4-course meal.
I get it.
So
But
are there 4-course meals?
You can have
5-course
as
meal.
many courses as you want, you know?
I think it's apparent.
You really can.
Yeah.